Nikki Haley appeared on propagandist Sean Hannity's program on Fox News last night, and she is now going anti-globalist. Now, anytime we talk about globalism, this question comes up of, by globalist, do they just mean Jews? Is it just a code word for anti-Semitism? Sometimes it is. In this particular clip that I'm going to play for you, that's not where I want to focus. I don't believe that in this instance, Nikki Haley means Jews by globalists. That's not what this is about. This is about the danger of the international institutions that Nikki Haley wants to defund. And this just builds directly on the last story, which is that so many of these right wingers fundamentally are delusionally isolationist, not understanding or not willing to concede that so many of the issues that Homo sapiens on planet Earth is now dealing with are issues that not only need multiple agencies, they need multiple countries working together. So take a listen to this.
That is how corrupt that organization is. So my final lead-up question is this. Should America once and for all cut ties with all of these globalist organizations? And if you ever became president, would you do that?
If I become president, we will get out of the Human Rights Council. We would certainly not get back into the Paris Climate Agreement.
Would we get out of the UN?
We would get out of the World Health Organization. The UN, the only thing is we would defund the UN as much as possible. The only reason, Sean, you don't get out of the UN is we're one country of 5 that has a veto. And the number of things we were able to stop China, Russia, and Iran from doing with that veto matters. And so you keep bad things from happening. But we don't have to pay at the level that we're paying, and we don't have to be in any of those other organizations.
So the first reaction is, since Nikki Haley wants to do all these things and she's not going to be president, thankfully, we don't have to worry about it. But it's actually not that simple. In reality, I do think Nikki Haley is the only Republican candidate that could beat Trump. As unlikely as it is, I think she's the only one who really has a shot. DeSantis is down. Nobody else has a shot. Nikki Haley is the one who's actually been surging. But put that aside for a second. This is a very disturbing race to the bottom. Who can cancel the most departments? Who can sever the largest number of possible international ties? And this is a counterproductive isolationist view where Republicans now are actually campaigning on who can undermine international cooperation the most and who can undermine the United States' role in addressing global challenges the most. And you can think through each of these organizations that Nikki Haley names. The United Nations Human Rights Council. It's not a perfect organization. Nobody's saying these organizations are perfect, but the solution isn't to bail, it's to improve the organizations. United Nations Human Rights Council plays a crucial role in addressing human rights abuses worldwide. Was it insane when Saudi Arabia, one of the worst human rights abusers in the world, got a say on that council? Of course, that's ridiculous. But if we leave, we only make it worse. If you believe that in general, the United States' influence in these areas is positive, we make it worse by leaving. Exiting the Paris Climate Agreement. As many of you know, Paris Climate Agreement is sort of a global effort to agree to combat climate change. It's, I think, one of the most important priorities for progressives. If you care about environmental sustainability, if you care about addressing the climate crisis, if you care about the future of markets and economies, we need to deal with that. Even if you believe that the Paris Climate Agreement isn't exactly well calibrated or whatever the case may be, when we withdraw, we are saying we reject the global effort to solve this problem. We'll either do something ourselves or we won't. Nobody else will have a say. We won't coordinate. Pollution doesn't respect lines drawn on a map. This is a global issue. And by the way, if anything, the real criticism of the Paris Climate Agreement is it doesn't actually go far enough, and it's not specifically tailored enough to actually fix the problems we know we have. Okay, so Paris Climate Agreement. World Health Organization. Did they get everything right on COVID? No, but did anybody? Sam Harris had a good kind of post-mortem on COVID, for lack of a better term, where he explained a lot of these agencies were doing the best they could with the information we had. And sometimes when you know you're lacking certain information, you have to make certain decisions that in retrospect may not have been the perfect decisions, but morally you have to make them at the time. WHO is not perfect. but it plays a vital role in global health, in pandemic response, which we've learned we were woefully unprepared for, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic. Global problems require global solutions is the point. And this isolationist disengagement from international organizations is the exact wrong direction. Let's be involved. Let's improve the organizations. That's a much better approach. And even if they have their faults, these organizations are necessary. So to say, well, Nikki Haley won't be president, so it's not going to matter. Trump has a lot of the same instincts when it comes to many of these organizations. So it's a new challenge. It's yet another one of these disastrous perspectives from the modern pseudo-populist right. And it's yet another reason why we have to prevent any of these people from becoming president of the United States. So I wrote another book for kids. The first book was Think Like a Detective. The point of the first book was to teach kids critical thinking, which Republicans don't want them to learn, because when kids learn critical thinking, they don't vote for Republicans. The new book is Think Like a Scientist. This is a fun adventure teaching kids the scientific method. Again, Republicans aren't big on kids learning the scientific method, because when they do, they're less likely to fall for Republican lies about climate change and vaccines and so many other things. You can get the new book as well as the first one at davidpakman.com/book. This is part of the Adventures in Thinking series. Can you imagine that we're doing this? We are. davidpakman.com/book. 13,500 copies of the first book have sold. I'll bring you an update soon on sales for the second book. Think Like a Scientist, davidpakman.com/book.